And since you've started, you've closed 6.8 million in volume. You capped within your first 5 months as an agent. You're on track to do 20 closings this year. And
this is the Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it. All tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy.
Scott Moore.
What's up, Scott? Woo,
Hey.
woo, party time. Okay, hang with friends. We
Okay,
are
he's not
stoked to
dancing.
have
That's okay.
you. Dude, he's just sitting there like, oh,
There it
that
is.
was
There you go.
We got hands.
that was the whitest dance move I've ever seen.
Oh, we'll stick around. There's a lot more.
Perfect.
Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. I am excited to dig into your episode. We're going to talk about a lot of good specifically pertaining to what it means to be a newer agent. And not just a newer agent, but a solo agent. So first, how I know you is that we met through the locker room training, which we were a part of it. You're not even in Arizona, so we've never met in person, but I feel like I know you, being that we were a part of this 12-week long training where we meet every single week. We're held to like such a high accountability level where if you don't show up, like 3 times, you're booted out, like no remorse. Like, hey, you don't care? Fine. Off to the next person that does care. So we started off with like a large like class size and we dwindled down pretty quickly. So, but yeah, I really like that. That's how I met you, especially being that we have free freaking coaches to us, available to us. Like I still text Melissa. I don't know if you still like are keep in contact with Melissa, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
A lot.
it's awesome. So the exercises that we did there, which actually we're going to get into, which is it's your golden nugget, one of the exercises that was so powerful to me, at least. And I'm sure it was powerful enough for you to where it's your golden nugget. And I love that you're going to share this. I'm just really excited to dig into today's episode.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the getting kicked out. Ruben Garcia threatened to kick me out one time. And he was like, dude, I don't care if your kid's throwing up. If you're not showing up tomorrow, we're done. I was like, all right, I will be there.
Yeah.
And so I jumped back in it really quick. And I mean, I had like a kid in one arm and then I'm like on Zoom on the other hand. But once Ruben says you're done, he means it. So
Yeah.
you jump on it.
That's classic Ruben.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Classic Ruben.
I feel like
Just threatening, but like with a smile.
I feel like I'm like slowly like becoming Ruben. I don't know. But it's so true. Like once you give somebody enough chances that you're giving them a free coach, free training, like everything handed to you. All you need to do is just turn on your camera and just attend, like if they're not even going to do that. And I'm not saying anything about you, because everyone has different circumstances, but for the majority of people, if they're not even going to do that, no, you've lost your chance. Like on to the next person.
Oh yeah. One of the most powerful things I think Ruben Garcia ever told me was, and I used to manage 17 people, but holding people accountable is actually showing that you love them. And so I used to think like, oh, I don't want to be mean to people and, make them feel bad, but really you're helping them. You're truly helping people by holding them accountable. And that's something that Ruben's taught me personally, and something I have to do to myself is hold myself accountable and my family and my friends. So it's definitely something I've learned a whole lot.
Yeah.
Dude, love all of that. And I also love your stats, which you are Scott Moore, and you are out of the Triad area, which is Greensboro and surrounding areas in North Carolina. And you've been a solo agent less than a year, started at the end of July last year. It's currently June of 2023. And since you've started, you've closed 6.8 million in volume. You capped within your first 5 months as an agent. You're on track to do 20 closings this year. And this is one of my favorite. So you spent 14 years in corporate America, building up to a job where you were making $120,000 a year, and you have already made $174,000 in gross commission. So, dude, we're so excited to dig in.
Total killer.
But before that, dude, yeah, go ahead, Allie.
No, like 174, you're on track to double what you made in corporate America that you worked long years in. And you're matching that. I love that this is such a repeat theme where like people are leaving their W-2s, jumping into realtor business and just crushing year one and then continuing to crush, I'm excited to see where you go.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
God,
was listening to
same.
a podcast a while back, and the guy on the podcast was basically saying that give me two types of people: the single moms or the guy in corporate America that's a month away from blowing their brains out. It's like they're the hardest working people. And I was having a down day anyway in real estate, but that just like pumped me back up. I'm like, that's me right there. I want to jump back in and get pumped up about it. But yeah, it's true. I mean, 14 years, I was doing 4 jobs, traveling. I managed 6,000 COVID cases because I managed our health services clinic for the company I was in. So in 2 years, 6,000 COVID case reviews.
Wow.
And it's like, you're on Zoom 8 in the morning till 5 at night. Sometimes I'm cooking dinner through Zoom, wake up at 2:30 in the morning because I'm stressed out about emails that I didn't get to that day. And it's just like, it's crazy the change. And even I've run into people that I used to work with and they're like, you look like a different person. Like you look happy again. And I'm like, yeah,
You're like, I am.
I love what I do. It's fun. And if I want to go mountain biking during the day, I can do it. So it's awesome.
Damn right. But before we get into more fun, we have to hear about your moment.
Yeah. So, in real estate, you get these, what you think are going to be pie transactions. So I had a lady call me, had a horrible agent that she was working with and said, hey, Scott, I need you to help me find a house. I'm like, okay, fine. So literally like the second house I took her to was the house. Get it under contract, Christmas Day, super excited. Well, 2 days later is when we had that massive freeze in North Carolina. And that's when the water to the refrigerator line busted above the base of the kitchen. So I get a call from the agent. Hey, the house we just went under contract on, the kitchen is laying in the floor right now. And the house is flooded. So I'm like, oh my God. And, this is probably my 5th or 6th transaction. Never had any of these things happen. So several months of working with a local insurance company, lots and lots of issues. I also learned one thing too. I think it's very important for agents because I called Shelby too because I was freaking out. I was like, what am I supposed to do? And Shelby's like, I don't know, but let me know when you find out.
Yeah, teach me.
But, one thing I really learned from that transaction was whenever you have a big, especially the insurance situation, and you got to close at a certain time. One thing that I should have done, and luckily the seller was really good, was the insurance money goes to the seller and then they get it back to the buyer or the company that's doing the work. So one thing I should have done was had the lawyer write up an escrow to hold that money in escrow for us from the insurance company versus going to the seller. So that way, luckily the seller was pretty easy to work with. But if they weren't, then they could have taken the money and it would have been a long time in court. So that's one thing I learned. If you guys have an insurance situation, get your lawyer to write up a document and have the seller sign it that they're going to hold the money in escrow for any of the work, basically out of the proceeds of the sale.
Wow.
Something good to think about.
I cannot believe that states still allow money to go to seller. Like in Arizona, where we don't deal with attorneys, escrow is the default. Like, why would anybody other than a third party hold on to the money? To me, just like makes no sense. But when I move to a state that does have attorneys, I'm gonna be like, what the different states do things so differently. What would have happened if the buyer had decided to back out, knowing that North Carolina does some like non-refundable earnest money?
Yeah. So we were like $10,000 into what we call due diligence in North Carolina. And so she didn't want to lose it. But at the same time, what happened was she had already sold her home that she was living in Charlotte. And luckily the people were really nice and were like, hey, we'll let you stay here for a little while. And then once this happened, I took her on an all-day excursion around the Triad trying to find her another house. And anyway, couldn't find anything. We even offered like $15,000 or $20,000 over list for one house and another $5,000 bonus to get the people out of the house. I think that freaked them out a little bit. So like, why is this person paying so much for my house? So that didn't work out. So anyways, we made it through the process. She didn't have a kitchen for 2 or 3 months, but hopefully by July 4th, she will have a brand new kitchen in the house. But it was a process and a shit show.
Wow.
To say the least.
So she would have lost.
So lucky.
If she backed out, she would have lost that $10K if she had decided to walk out.
Well, so in North Carolina, because that was a big insurance situation, she could have got that money back.
Okay.
Most likely if we pressed it.
Okay.
But she needed a house and she needed it quick. And that was the one she really wanted. So we stuck with it.
Dude, it's just the nicest people all around. Like that, you're so lucky for so many reasons. The seller could have seriously ran off with that money. Like, hot freaking damn. And then they let her stay after in the house. Like, who are these people?
Yeah.
So nice.
It was good, but it was definitely a show for sure.
For sure. Okay, well, we also know from before we hit record that your first year was, it sounds really great with the stats, and it is really great, but there were definitely some show moments in that. So we know that you were, 14 years corporate beforehand, but can you talk to us about your first year as an agent?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I got burned out in corporate life. It just sucked there at the end. I mean, I love the people I worked with, but the workload was insane. And so I talked to another agent locally and said, hey, I'm thinking about getting out of corporate America, going into real estate. I went to go work for them for a little while. And it was a really good learning experience for me because I learned, about the contracts, how to do everything, walk through the process. So I would not give up that time with the other agent for anything. And so, I worked for that person for a little while. We decided to part ways. And I said, hey, let's go in, let's give this a shot and see how it goes. And luckily, the other agent is still in my back pocket. So if I ever need anything, I'm like, hey, can you help me out, please? And they're like, yeah, absolutely, which has been awesome. And of course, they're on our team too, which makes things even better because our team is awesome.
I have to interrupt. When you said, hey, can you help me out, please? You sound just like Bill Clinton. Oh my God. You should be in for Halloween one day.
Yeah. I always need good Halloween ideas for sure. I said, oh yeah, this can't be that tough. So I'll jump into it and see how it goes. And about a month and a half in, I was kind of floundering and didn't have a clue what to do. And then I reached out to my old boss and I was like, hey, so I've seen there's some openings in the company. I'm thinking about coming back. And then luckily, Ruben reached out to me, and Shelby had kept in touch with me through the process too, and threw me in the locker room. And then once I got into that training, that's kind of where my golden nugget come out for this podcast episode. And then also, I just started learning the processes and really finding that real estate isn't as complicated as I thought it was. It's about the consistency and the drive. And so, some of the things that they do and they teach you as a new agent is, it's the 5 by 25. Essentially, it's make 5 real estate conversations a day. Doesn't matter who it is. Add 5 people on social media, make 5 comments on social media on somebody's stat, and then write 10 cards a week. And that's your 25. And it's amazing how things balloon from there. My first transaction actually got through the mentor program with EXP. So my mentor had me do an open house. And so I was at the open house and this young couple come through, and the lady had a purse on it, had a hand sanitizer from the company I used to work for. And I was like, oh, perfect. Something in common. So I said, hey, I see your sanitizer. You work there? And she's like, no, my sister does. I'm like, well, who's your sister? And so I had that conversation. I knew her sister really well. And then I gave him my card and talked to him for a little while. They're just kind of shopping around. And then about a week later, I'm playing with my kids on Saturday morning. I get a text message from the guy. He's like, hey, can we go look at a house? And I was like, sure. And he sent me the address. And I look at the address, and it's an $810,000 house. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm
winning.
I'm like, I'm freaked out at this point because I'm expecting like $150,000, $200,000 house in my first one. This one's $800,000. And so, super nervous. Went to look at that house, but then we didn't get it. But I called the agent, had a lot of good conversations with the agent, and come to find out she had another listing. And that listing, she liked me, and she's like, hey, listen, make an offer. And if it's a good one, we're going to take it. So luckily, that's that relationship building with other agents, which I'm not the best at. But I need to start getting on. That's one of my working in progress things, and start networking and schmoozing with other agents and things like that. But, that kind of set me up having that nice house. And then I was able to use that for social media. And people were saying, okay, well, now Scott's selling. And another thing is too, as a new agent, I think, I'm an agent. Why isn't people coming to me? Like, they know I'm an agent. It goes back to that being that secret agent thing, and you don't want to be a secret agent. So jumping in on social media at that point really helped catapult, my career and getting it moving forward.
Yeah. So you mentioned the locker room, like that Ruben put you in the locker room. Talk more about that, because I know that not everyone listening to this even knows what the locker room is. So talk a little bit more about what happens in the locker room.
In the secret locker room. Yeah. Now you say it that way, it does sound a little dirty. I don't know why.
Yeah, right. It's like hazing and like other.
Yeah. So yeah, so in the locker room is a 12-week program that they have there, and it really takes you through the fundamentals of the entire process of being a real estate agent from the very basics. Like, hey, why are you here? What is your goal? What do you see? So I mean, even from that one, I keep a little Jeep right here in front of me because I always wanted to have a Jeep, and
Nice.
having two kids has kind of put a hold on that. But that's kind of my goal that I keep, and that's something from there. It's just keeping your goal, keeping your focus, what's your drive, things like that. And then one of the big things was, as we'll talk about a little bit later, the golden nugget is the letter to the family. And so what they do is they take you through the basics and then teach you like, hey, this is social media. This is working with buyers. This is working with sellers, FSBOs. And they really teach you the fundamentals of the process that you really have to understand. And so I think going through that course had given me a lot of confidence, where I may not have had a lot of confidence. Even when I work out in the mornings, I got a gym in my garage. So I throw on like a video that I need to watch, and I'd watch that while I'm working out. But it's just kind of that repetitive, learning that you can go through with a 12-week program. And then working with other people in the classroom, you learn a lot. Just listen, like me and Allie were back and forth, like IMing each other through the class, because I'd have different questions. And Allie, did you catch that? What do you think about this? So it's good. And it's really a network building thing too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. I am like instant message. You're such a dad. I love it.
And
I have questions. Sorry, Allie, go ahead.
well, so taking like a 30,000 step view, like from above of the locker room. The locker room is a nationwide or worldwide, I believe, just real estate coaching program, or like, company in which there are multiple different types of courses you can go through. So the specific one that we went through is called Track, and that's the one that's like 12 weeks. We met every Tuesday. It was actually my second iteration, which was awesome. And so I wanted to keep that momentum going. So with the being a part of this like specific EXP family, that's what gets us access to it for free. So like all you need is literally, and Ruben spoke about this before in a previous podcast, where all you need is a username and a login, which you will get being a part of the downline. As long as you act like you're trying, as long as you want this to work, you will get a login. And then you just log in. There's like so many videos and spreadsheets and like scripts you can download from there. But mainly that video file that they have, you can watch so many like listing presentation examples, and it's really good. So specifically like what we did was Track, and it was awesome. Okay, Shelby, go ahead. I've been hogging it.
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Allie the Agent and The Shelby Show.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's really cool. And so I've never been through the locker room or Track or any of it. And listening to this, I'm like, I think it's really cool that you can listen to other people do listing presentations. Are there also like the buyer consultations and like people on the phone? Like, are those examples as well?
Yeah. So, I mean, they actually have several videos where they sit down and do like a full buyer consultation. And there's some really good nuggets of information, especially like questions. So that's one of the things I'm trying to work on right now is making powerful questions a part of my consultation. And you can learn a ton of good things, and also learn that, you're not the one that talks all the time. The person asking the questions is leading the conversation.
And the power. Yeah.
So
that alone is so powerful though. Cause I hear that all the time where it's like, newer agents want to shadow and they want to just like listen in on the phone call because they don't know what to say and they don't want to just make it up as they go. And so if that's already integrated into a program, that's dope. And it's got to have been super helpful in gaining, like you said, gaining your confidence. So you could go out and actually talk to buyers and sell that, how much was it? 800,000 plus, whatever the other one was.
Yeah.
The house.
Yeah. 810,000. Yeah.
Okay. And normally we save the golden nugget till the end, but we were talking about it a little bit in the beginning. And I feel like it'd be really cool to go now do they do it in the beginning of the locker room?
Yeah. So it's one of the beginning things that you do there in the locker room is, when you're setting up your goals and really your why for why you're doing real estate, instead of getting that freedom, whatever your purpose is. And so with the golden nugget, that I want to give you guys, they come from the locker room. It's that you write 2 letters and the template's there, in there. And so one letter is, hey, I have done what I said I'm going to do. I worked hard every day. I am, a successful real estate agent. And this is what I've done to get here. And then on the kind of the other part is, hey, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't lead generate. I didn't make the phone calls. I was scared of this. I was scared of that. And I failed. And so for me, having two small kids and a wife, I mean, that hurts. That hurts me. And so like, I am not telling my kids I ever failed, unless I have to. I'm not that kind of guy. I will tell them if I failed, but I don't want to have to tell them that. Right. It's, I want to be like, hey, I worked hard because I care about you guys and I want to see us succeed as a family. And so for me, just having that letter, like, is super powerful.
Yeah. When I was writing this one, and they do it on purpose, right? So like you're thinking in the future. So you're thinking about what goals you want to accomplish and what that feels like. What are the emotions attached to these goals that you put out for yourself that you accomplish? You're on cloud nine. You and your family now can go on that vacation to Australia, whatever it is. It talks about what your just specific details of what you are feeling, of course, on the high first, right? Like you succeeded. You're awesome. Like congrats. And then they just bring you to the low. They're like, hey, now write the exact opposite if you didn't do what you said you were going to do. You making your own goals, not someone else making some goals for you. It's what you wanted to accomplish for your own life, your own family. When I wrote that letter, I started crying. I cried. It was intense. And it sounds so simple and so crazy, but I was crying. For me to tell my family that I didn't reach my goals, that hurts. So I suggest if you've never done this, take some time alone by yourself. No music, I would say. I don't know how I feel about I don't like working with music. And really just like get into what you want your life to look like just 12 months from now, 1 year into the future.
Yeah, 100%. Even having a daughter now, it's like I cry at everything. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. It's like you got to put yourself in the emotion, so that way you write down like what you're truly thinking and like what's in like your mind, your heart, and it can get pretty impactful. I mean, it really can. And so that way, it's really about that drive and sticking with it. And that's one thing I had to learn as an agent is, yeah, there's some be ups and downs, but it's all about consistency. It's about that drive. It's about looking at what's the end goal and where I want to be. And so I think that letter has really helped drive that. And I'll take it out about once a month and read it just to make sure I'm still doing what I say I was going to do.
Yeah. And
Dude, I love that.
you can find that at theagentgoldmine.com. Like literally it is there. Download it and just write it. Write the letter.
Dude, so you came out the gate from this other career and we know that you crushed it already. And we kind of have an idea that the locker room helped you do that and setting your intention, writing this letter to yourself. But you've mentioned a lot about doing the right activities. And I know that a bunch of newer agents are like, dude, I want to crush it too. I just don't know what to do. So what activities would you say were most impactful in creating the business that you were able to?
Yeah. So, for me, one of the biggest things was actually using my CRM was a pretty big deal. Since I've never really used my CRM, right? Like I've got it. It's KV Core. I'm sure it's great. I just never used it. And so it's like, well, I just go through my phone. I flip through my iPhone. Okay, I haven't talked to this person in a while. Let me text them and text them. And one thing I do is almost 90% of my stuff is text message. Like I hardly make any phone calls. I know for a lot of newer agents, making the phone calls is super scary. So even Ruben, he's 100% text. So I pretty much only text people and I'm doing fairly well. And so, for people, I think it's getting over that you do whatever works for you, right? It's for me, text message is great. And so I put in my CRM. And so what I do is I set aside 2 hours a day where I do lead gen. And so I pull up my KV Core and then I go through and I've got different tasks and things I've got to do that day. But I will message people. I go through basically straight down through my CRM about every 3 to 4 months. I will make touch base with somebody and I'll just text them or I'll get on their Facebook and, message them on Facebook, whatever it's called, Facebook Messenger, since I'm an old man.
I am.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, I grew up in AOL, right? I'm going to be 40 this year. But yeah, I mean, it's setting up my CRM was probably one of the bigger things I've done. And then it helps me keep track of what people are telling me. Cause it's really cool to, like 2 months later, me text, hey, how are you doing? And one guy had surgery or he was going to have surgery in a month. And then 2 days after surgery, I texted him and said, "Hey, how are you doing? How's your surgery? Is everything going okay?" Like those kind of things, like normally I would totally forget. But now that I put it in my CRM, I remember it, kids' names, grandkids' names. As soon as somebody gives me their grandkid's name, it goes immediately in my CRM because I am the world's worst for remembering names and things like that. So CRM is important. Calendar is hugely important. So in my career, so I actually used to be a volunteer firefighter in EMT. So I'm used to like fighting fires. And in corporate America, all I did was fight fires all day long. But what I've had to learn, and Shelby's helped me with this one, Ruben's helped me with this one, and others have too, is really sticking to my calendar and sticking to what I plan out. Not to say there aren't, to me, they're still called emergencies, but even though everyone says there's no emergency in real estate, but really is if I've moved something, it gets added to another portion of my day. And so my lead gen time is 2 hours every single day. If I get through early, great. But no matter what, that is the most important time that I have throughout the day is that lead gen. 2 hour time, get it in, and then rock and roll at that point. So, my days, like I get up at 5. I'm not one of these nuts to get up at 4:30. I just can't do that. But 5 o'clock is my time. I get up, drink a cup of coffee. I know. Drink a cup of coffee and then go work out, get a shower at 6:30, get my daughter who's banging on the door at 6:45 to be let out, and then get the family in gear. And then at 9, I jump on the MLS. And then 9:30, I'm 30 minutes in social media. So making comments, following up on people. And then lead gen hits about 10 o'clock for me every single day. And then whatever fillers in the afternoons.
That's okay. Question. I got to rewind.
Sure.
So you said something, and I'm literally trying to imagine I'm like a newer agent listening to you, right?
Okay.
And you said, "Oh, the CRM was highly impactful for me. I just had to set it up." And then as the new agent in my head, I was like, what the does that mean, Scott? What do you mean you set up your CRM? So can you talk about that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Sorry, I gloss over things sometimes. So CRM, what I did was I basically went through my entire iPhone. And, most of it will auto update into KV Core through Google Contacts. So a lot of that comes in automatically. But another thing that I missed was all my social media contacts I had. So I went into Facebook, downloaded my entire friends list that I had on Facebook, and you can do that, and then added them all into my social media or into my CRM. So that way I'm knowing every 4 months I've got to be commenting or liking or doing something like that.
I didn't even know you could do that.
No.
Did you know, Allie, that you can download all of your friends from Facebook? Get out. Okay.
Yeah.
See, this is why we asked the question.
Yeah, I found a really obscure video on Facebook on how to do it and then get it all alphabetized, which is another pain in the butt. But so that is something that's really important to do because I've got 1,200 friends on Facebook. They need to go into my CRM, and so even if it's on Facebook, you don't know like probably 3/4 of the people that you're friends with, but at least every now and then I have to go into Facebook, look them up, and like something or comment on some post that they have too. And there, so that way you stay top of mind.
I'm literally
okay. Genius.
I'm adding this to my calendar right now. YouTube, how to download Facebook friends into KV Core. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.
Seriously, game changer. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was say so you can download it, put it into a CSV file. And
okay. That's where I mess up. Every time. That's where I mess up. The CSV file. Oh, that's hard. I've tried downloading just like my phone, like contacts into a CSV file twice. It deleted all my contacts. So make sure you go to, I don't know, the Geek Squad or what. It deleted everybody. And I'm in the middle of transactions. Actually, I think it's like one of my busiest months where I had like five transactions. Oh, dude. They were like, hey, what's this? I was like, who are you?
Dude, this could have been a show.
I got a lot of shows.
Dude, this could have been your show moment, but instead, we do the lesbian sex.
You liked it, Shelby. Shut up.
I did. Yeah, it was great. Okay, so you downloaded all of your Facebook friends and you consistently keep touch with them from that. And what else? So like basically by setting up your CRM, do you just mean like get all of the contacts of all of the people you've ever met and upload it? Or did you like build out like campaigns? Or is it just like less is more?
Yeah. So, I uploaded everyone in there and I put them all on basically I got several campaigns. One's like weekly check-in, monthly check-in, quarterly check-in, buyer nurture campaigns, things like that. Now, I did try to reach out to somebody on the team named Amber, who said she was too busy to set up my KV core for me. So I'm still
Dude, you
upset
just
about
called her
that.
out.
I know.
You
I
just
know.
straight, poor Amber. Amber,
I
we
love her.
you.
I think
We do love you, but I'm a little upset you didn't set up my KV
she's
core.
working.
It's funny because she works for me and Allie, but she's like, Scott, you.
She's working on my
Yeah,
KV core right now.
She said it so nicely to me.
She's the nicest.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on. Sorry.
No. So I went in, tried to learn a little bit of the KV core on the campaign side and then set up some of those campaigns. One thing I also learned too is, most people are never going to open these drip campaigns, but something I learned was always put your name and your company or whatever in the title, the subject of the email. So even if they never open the email, they see your name repetitively pop up in the emails. So that's something else I did in all my campaigns is it's always from your realtor, Scott Moore, that kind of thing. So, nobody really opens those most of the time. I have found some people actually do, and they respond back. So that's one thing that I do on the CRM piece is get them in, start, add them to some campaigns. That way, at least once a quarter, just check in on their Facebook or their Instagram feed or wherever it is. One area that I've had a lot of closings recently from is LinkedIn. And most people don't even think about LinkedIn, but coming from a corporate environment, I had a lot of contacts in that professional space. And I think actually 3 of my last 4 or 5 closings have been LinkedIn. So I'm really kind of refocusing back to that area.
Did you download those people and upload them too from LinkedIn?
I haven't yet. No. I'm not sure how that might be even harder.
So in KV Core, how do you decide who is weekly versus a monthly versus quarterly? And do you add that specifically as a task? Like for your follow-up, how specifically in KV Core do you do your follow-up?
Yeah, so my new leads are typically weekly check-in. So, if I did open house or if I got a new website lead or something like that, will be weekly. Some of those people that are kind of one thing is all my website leads and some of my other leads go through the 7 days of pain, which was awful the first time I did it. I hate the 7 days of pain. But now I'm like, it's almost fun because it's like, are they ever going to respond? And then sometimes they do. On like day 7, they'll like actually respond back to your text message or your email, which is pretty cool.
Tell us what it is. What is the 7 days of pain?
So the 7 days of pain.
Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us. We'll reshare that.
Is essentially like when you get a new website lead, it comes into your KV Core. And then at that point, I will start texting. So day 1, like, hey, this is Scott Moore with GrayMac Realty. I drop in my Blink card. If you guys know what the Blink is, or there's all those cards out there with all your contact information, your social media accounts. So I'm like, hey, Scott Moore with GrayMac Realty. Want to reach out and say, thanks for checking out my website. Here's my contact information. Check out my social media. Let me know if you have any questions. And then, day 2, if they don't respond, it's like, hey, this is Scott Moore. Just want to check in again. And then it just kind of keep going from there for like every day for 7 days. And, sometimes people never respond. And those people after day 7 get put on my buyer nurture campaign drip. So it's the emails, if I got their email address. If I don't have their email address, most people I do on the website, then what I'll do is I will put them on the monthly follow up. I'll just ping them once a month, every month with a text message. So you should see some of my text message strings. It's like all me.
Yeah.
For like pages.
And it hurts because you're like, who wants to be that annoying person? Because everyone has been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
But you will get responses. I started like throwing in some GIF or GIFs, whatever the you call them, like a Frozen, like the Elsa being like, hello, are you there? Or like the Lion King, dude, like random like, hello, is anybody else? And at that point, I feel like that's when I started getting some responses. Because they're like, it's okay, it's not just a bot. She has an iPhone. Dude. She has the GIF, and she's sending it to me. Okay, she's a person.
Yes.
And then they're like, nah, we're not,
I get my best response rates when I do like weird anything that's like standard professional. It's like, I don't care. And then I like throw in some emojis and like some and I probably don't hit them with the eggplant too soon, but just like, and all that stuff. And like, they're like, oh, wow, you have a personality and you're a human.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. It's something I haven't done yet is try to be a little bit more professional and streamlined in what I do, especially just coming from that corporate background. But yeah, that's the thing is whatever it takes to get them to respond is the thing to do.
So you mentioned who is weekly and who's monthly, who is quarterly and annual, and the rest of your timeline.
Oh yeah. So the quarterly is going to be the sphere of influence, essentially. So the people, the friends, family, things like that. Any of those that aren't leads are typically going the quarterly. Just follow up, check in, and make sure they're doing okay. And then, of course, I set up the task too for any home anniversaries, birthdays, and stuff like that come through. And a lot of that I pull off of Facebook because you can get their birthdays off of there, and I just throw it into the CRM.
Nice.
And I also write a bunch of cards too. So if it's their birthday coming up, I try to put a card in the mail 2 or 3 days ahead of time, just to say happy birthday and check in. And I found people love cards. It's especially the older generation that I work with. They really respond well to cards. It's funny, one person I was like, "Hey," I wrote him a card and like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well. Really appreciate you liking all my posts." And like literally, this person is like a devoted follower now. Like every time I put a post out, they're the first one to like it.
Oh my God.
It's just funny how that works. So, and I enjoy writing the cards too.
It's adorable. I love getting cards too. Scott, write me a card. Yeah. No, just kidding. Okay. Another question on the campaign. So you mentioned you throw them on like a buyer campaign or whatever campaign. Were those campaigns that you created, or were they automatic? Were they already in existence in KV Core?
Yeah. So KV Core has some templates, and so I use the template. There's a buyer nurture campaign template in KV Core, but I went in and edited and modified all the items in there. So like with the subject lines and things like that. So I just want to make sure they look good. And then, one thing I thought about doing is I do all these posts for social media. Instead of using some of the canned presentations in KV Core, just taking those posts, because you can take them and drop the pictures and information into the emails themselves. So I feel like that might be a little bit different than the normal like drip. And plus it's already information that's out on social media anyway. So why don't I utilize it and throw it in KV Core so it auto shoots that out? And that way it doesn't look like every single agent out there.
That's true. You definitely took it a step further than what I did when I first started. I think I can get easily overwhelmed because when I was looking at these campaigns, I'm like, wow, this is amazing that I can just, from someone in my CRM, which I had never used a CRM before in my military days. That was completely new to me. So adding people to a CRM and attaching a date and a time and what I'm going to say next time I reach out, that was just so foreign sounding to me. So, and I'm looking at all the campaigns that KV Core has, like the conversation for renter leads, which will eventually turn into buyer leads, or, 1 year out nurtures for sellers and the default active buyers, like once you're ready, literally everything. And the fact that you can manipulate each one, instead of it telling you to call them, you could just text them, or you can switch, like instead of you emailing them, you can call them. And this is, if you are going to text, this is what they suggest you say, but you can also just put your own flavor on it, because my words are not KV Core's words, although I ended up using KV Core's words because I was like, this isn't me, but let me just try it anyway because this is so overwhelming. I'm just going to hit the default since this works. They would not give this to us if it didn't work. They want business as well. So I just set them all for the default, and my gosh, people responded. And I was like, they think it's me. I'm like, yeah. It's so good. It's so good. Sometimes just, you can do so much with a CRM, but don't get overwhelmed. Just stick with the default and it will work.
Yeah. And, for me, I'm not a salesy person. I don't like selling people things. And so I always thought of CRMs as like kind of dirty. It's like, I'm like keeping all these notes on people, but it's really actually been super helpful now, because it's like, now I have all this history of people that I can like, hey, check on their grandkids and stuff like that. It's just things that, to me, I have a terrible memory most of the time. Like, I cannot tell you, what happened like last week most of the time, but having that there, it's helped me so much with my clients, and just being able to check in on things. Like one client was in 3 weeks, we were going to DC and then going to Maine for 6 hours to see their family. And then I just had a task set up. I'm like, hey, check on their trip to Maine and things like that. So it's that reminder, and it keeps people front of mind, but also helps keep you front of mind, which is really the important thing.
Dude, totally. And okay, so you mentioned calendar, you mentioned CRM. What other tools and systems are you using in your business?
Yeah, so social media is probably the biggest thing. I mean, outside of the CRM and calendar thing, is I am really working social media right now. One of the things I started out doing, you guys have probably seen it many times, is the maintenance Mondays. It's like we were challenged in the locker room to do a video. And I'm like, well, crap, what am I going to do for a video? Like, I don't know what to do. But I do a lot of home projects, and I basically self-taught on a lot of home projects and things like that. I'm like, well, maybe people care about home projects. And so I started doing my Maintenance Monday videos, and it is incredible the amount of response I've had from that. I've run into friends that I have not seen since high school, and they're like, man, I watch your videos like every single week. They're awesome. And I'm like, what? Like, are you actually watching? Because you don't like them. So I don't know if you're watching them or not. But yeah, I mean, it's that, like, even something simple as like Maintenance Mondays, where I'm just like, hey, this is how you caulk your, kitchen cabinets or whatever, or your walls. It's those little things that you can do to stay front of mind that I tell you, the Maintenance Monday has been huge. And I've had tons of people just DM me and say, basically say, hey, listen, I have learned so much from your videos. And like, I'm really glad, like, I look forward to them every single week. And so that's one thing I try to do is get one of those videos out a week. And so that helps keep me front of mind. People are learning a lot. It's all about knowledge and sharing knowledge with people, and then I'm also, when I'm out and about, like doing showings or looking at houses, I'm trying to make videos of why I'm there, talking about things that people can do to get their house ready to sell or things to look out for as buyers. I mean, I've been in some, I don't want to say janky crawl spaces, but I've been in some pretty rough spots before. And, that's something else too, is not a lot of agents will go in an attic or a crawl space, but that's something that I offer for my clients. And I'm like, hey, listen, this is the stuff you find. And especially when we were putting down $10,000 to $15,000 due diligence. I mean, I saw one last year for one of my sales for $100,000. It's like, this person's putting down $100,000 on a house that their agent barely opened the front door, And so those are the things that I'm trying to show is like, hey, you need an agent, or I'm an agent that will go in and I'll do a little bit extra or a little bit more than what most other agents are doing. And also with my social media, it's just getting that information out and getting the knowledge out and help people, just keep me front of mind for most people. And social media has absolutely changed my base of my business. And also those videos stay out there like forever. So it's constantly putting you out there. It's always, people can go see them. They can go check out my YouTube page. They can do all this stuff. And Allie's out there killing it. I know on YouTube all the time. Shelby, I see your stuff all the time, but that's just constantly lead genning for you. And so that's one thing that's really stepped up my business a lot. It's just getting out there, putting the videos out there, whether it's painful, even if I make 20 takes on the video, just getting it out there.
Yeah. And in Track, they have us get started with not just video, but with lives. And doing lives, that is what completely squashed any sort of hesitation that I had with video. Because in lives, you can't rewind. You can't go back and fix your hair, fix your tooth, fix whatever, fix what you were saying, So as soon as I started doing some lives, and I'm so glad that I did, like with Track. Otherwise, I would have, to this day, I would not be doing lives. And now I'm so comfortable. I don't give a, like, I don't care what I look like. This is me. So, but specifically for your social media, you mentioned LinkedIn, you mentioned Facebook and like downloading all your contacts there. What other socials do you use? Let's start there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Instagram, and then I've started a YouTube page also. And my YouTube page is kind of a mix of my Maintenance Monday videos, different things. So sometimes, on Maintenance Monday on Reels, you get like a minute, but sometimes it can be a lot more. So I take both. I do vertical and horizontal video. My horizontal goes on to YouTube for the longer things. And then I also do home walkthroughs too of various homes in the area. I mean, I live in a little bit nicer area in Guilford County, so where I'm at here in Greensboro. So the homes are the median price point, probably $550, $600, somewhere in there. So if there's an empty house, I'm rolling up with my GoPro and my drone, and I'm hitting it hard, and I'm putting it up on my YouTube. And I've had people reach out on YouTube, say, hey, I've been thinking about moving to Oak Ridge. I like your videos. So things like that, it works. Just throwing those different things
drones
out there on YouTube.
So my dad gave me a drone and was like, hey, this might help you in your business. And I was like, awesome. I don't know how to use this. And so I gave it to my assistant, and you actually just helped me remember that she still has it, and she's selling her house soon. So I got to go get it. But like, that's commitment. It's not just you and your iPhone. You have equipment. I admire that. People that like actually are just going to go all in, not just 1 foot in, one foot out with, just half social media, like you're going on it all in because it's working for you. It's that positive reinforcement. Yeah, you might not get like all the likes in the world, but you're getting DMs or IMs. You're getting clients, and that's like positively reinforcing you to do that over and over again. I want to go into the processes of how you do all the videos and do you leverage anything out?
Yeah. So, and in fact, that was something I was going to bring up too. So, in the beginning, I was doing my own filming, trying to get all the videos, doing my scripting and then doing all my own editing. And then I was like, well, I need somebody to do the editing for me, do my social media posts for me. And I know there's lots of people out there, and Lord knows when you become an agent, you get hit up like 3 times a week from various people that want to do your social media accounts. But I had a friend's daughter who's in high school, and I was like, hey, you are like, she's all over TikTok. She's doing all this kind of, all the social media stuff. And I was like, would you want to do this? Like, she's learning business. She's getting ready to go to UNC Chapel Hill for business. Like, are you interested in marketing? She's like, yeah, sure. And she has been absolutely killing my social media. I mean, I get so many compliments from other agents, and they're like, gosh, who is doing your marketing, your social media? I'm like, this girl in high school is crushing it. Like,
dude, does she follow you around and film, or do you just send her the video and she edits? Like, what does that look like?
It's a little bit of both, right? So like I did like a drive through around the town I live in. So she did the videography for me. So she was in the car with me doing the video and stuff like that as I talked. Sometimes I just send her out and I'm like, hey, if you got time today, go film like 10 parks in the area. And then she'll like go film parks in the local area. And then she puts all the video together for me, and then she'll post it out on social media. So one thing that also I did was here in Greensboro, I started a new to Greensboro group because Ruben told me to do it. And so now I've got over 6,000 followers in this group.
Dude.
And so I'm constantly posting like new events, and new things. It is a lot. It surprised me how fast it's grown. I put out new events each week. She's putting my Caitlin, she's putting out tons like calendar stuff like that for me. So I've got like 6,000 followers now. Of course, I've got all the real estate agents jumping in now, trying to get in there. So I'm ready to.
Dude, you should do it. Yeah, do a closed group. Is it closed?
It's open
on Facebook. Okay, dude, close that and then have them required to, fill in their email address at a minimum, or like phone number, one or the other two, in order to join, and then the profession too. And then you can have your VA or whoever you want to do it, pull it from there and put it into KV Core and hit them with the welcome to Greensboro.
Nice. No, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that would be pretty interesting to do it that way. Man, that'd be 6,000. I might have to hire somebody on that one. But no, that's a great idea.
That's a gold mine waiting for you. That is insanely powerful. And that's on Facebook?
It's on Facebook. Yeah, it's called New to / Moving to Greensboro. And I'm getting ready I just started a new one for the Triad too. So it's going to be Greensboro, West, and High Point.
Can we talk about how you grew that from 0 to 6,000? Like, what the are you posting? Are you and how much, and like how are you marketing it, or are they just searching and finding you, or what is
it's
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
It's all organic growth from the group. Now, I do spend like about once a day in my social media. I am just pushing, go onto events in Facebook, find an event that you think people are interested in, and push it to the group. And then the group has been growing from there off of that. So I know it sounds pretty easy, and it really is. It's pretty easy. So I've just basically built the group. I just put events in. I search Facebook every day. I'm like, oh, people might like this event. And then I'll push that event to the group under my GrayMac Realty, which GrayMac, I know most people are like, GrayMac, that's the name of my company for Grace and Mackenzie, my kids. And so, but everything's through my business page. So it comes across, everything's posted under my business. So that way they see GrayMac Realty. And then I hold all posts in that group until I have time to respond. So I will approve a post, and then I will immediately be the first person to respond on it.
Okay, that's genius.
Okay, so
wait.
It shows GrayMac Realty.
Can we go back to you say you find an event. So you're talking, okay, so you have this page that the New to Greensboro Triad, whatever page. Yeah. And then you're searching for like events happening in Greensboro, like hypothetically find some properties or whatever is happening locally. and then you go to the local event and you wait, which way do you share it? You share your news. Yeah, please help.
So the way you do it is basically I'm on my business page. I click on events for Facebook because, there's a whole event thing. Search local like Greensboro, and then also this week, essentially. And then I scroll through it and I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. And I'll take it, share it to the group. And then I put in like a little narrative about it and then share it out. And that's all it is. I mean, it literally takes 2 minutes to do. And so I just loaded up with different events I think people were interested in, share it to the group, and it shows up under my real estate name. And so that way I'm sharing it. And then as people comment, I'll go through and like their posts or like their comments. Or if somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm new to the area. One thing people are doing right now is, hi, my name's Scott, and this is the picture I took. So I'll approve their post. And immediately, as soon as I approve their post, I jump in and say, hey, welcome to the group. I'm glad you're here. Love the picture. Thanks for joining us, that kind of thing. And they'll always respond back, thanks, GrayMac Realty.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just this kind of thing. So.
Genius.
I have an embarrassing story. I started a Facebook group specifically for military spouses that are realtors, because it's a tough business to be in when you're moving every 3 years and having to restart a new MLS and new, just everything. So I was like, you know what, this would be a good way to get referrals and just support other military spouses that are realtors. You get it. And I have nothing to say. I'm so busy. I don't know how to grow it. I'm looking at it right now, and I think Landon Stone is a part of it. Is he a spouse of a military person? I got no oversight.
He's not a military spouse.
Oh my gosh. If you turn this into a checklist, Scott, I will purchase your checklist on how to grow this group.
Dude.
Yeah.
We're going to have you come teach a 5 Pillars weekly training on this. So everyone can start. Yeah. And you have to share your screen and show exactly how you do it, because I'm also super intrigued by the fact that you said that you can withhold their posts. That's a thing. Okay, so if you own the page and people want to post, you can withhold it until your timing is right. Dude. Right. Yeah. I'm so excited.
I don't know. And I've got one now from another agent, who's going to teach a first time home buyers class. But decline. Sorry.
That. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Dude, let's scrub them. Let's get the request to join. I'm excited. I'm really excited. You're going to be a bajillionaire.
Do you need
about that? I mean, it's just crazy.
Do you need a business Facebook account, or can just a personal work?
You can do a personal, but I like posting from my business page because it always keeps my name, my company name first right there. And then what I'll do is, whenever I post something on my business page, I share it to my personal page, that kind of thing too.
Ooh, more questions. Okay. You have 6,000 people who follow this page. Can you download that CSV and upload to KV Core and tag them, Facebook group or whatever, and set them on a 36 touch or whatever?
Probably. I haven't tried yet, but I'm sure you could.
I'm so excited.
Going back to high school leverage, how much are you paying?
Oh,
her?
yeah.
What is the going rate?
Yes.
And what other is she doing other activities aside from what you already mentioned?
Yes, I mean she's $15 an hour. That's what I'm paying her right now, and then which is funny because I think we only pay her $12 for the babysitting, both kids. Nice. So she's our babysitter and also our marketer. She's absolutely crushing it for us, and so she does the videography stuff for me. Like I said, I'll give her the GoPro. Or she'll take her phone and she'll just go, I'll say hey, I want to focus on parks. And this Friday, if you look at the New to Greensboro group, we're going through Country Park in a video and different things like that. Because these are people that are moving here that are trying to find, hey, where are places to go? What are things to do? So she's literally doing the video for me, doing all the editing. Her post compared to my post, it's she's way up here. And I'm just copying whatever she's doing, half the time when I have to do it. So she does all that for me. She's done an About Me video, which I'm going to create a website, throw that on a QR code and add that to all my, everything I'm doing. So my letters, my cards that I'm sending out, door hangers, they'll have that QR code that leads them back to my website with my video and who I am, those kind of things. So, she's really focusing mostly on the social media aspect and creating posts and things like that for me. which has been awesome.
Okay, so she films, she edits, she logs in as you and posts with the description, the tags, the hashtags, the whatevers.
Right.
Okay, so she does all of that. And then does she come up with the ideas, or do you come up with the ideas?
Yeah, no, I mean, in the beginning, I came up with the ideas, but now I just kind of let her do a free reign on it. So half the time, I don't even know what's getting posted for the day.
I want to adopt her.
Yeah.
Can I adopt a 15-year-old?
Yeah. Yeah, she's awesome. I mean, she's 18. She's getting ready to head out to UNC Chapel Hill. So I'll be sad. So, but yeah, I mean, it's, just kind of showing her. And then what I'll do too is, with most people that are doing marketing for you, I will go through Instagram and like, I like what this person does. And I'll like send it to her and like repackage this, those kind of things while I'm doom scrolling through Instagram or whatever it is that day. So, but those are some of the things that you can do is just look what other people are doing, repackage it, rebrand it for yourself. And so she does a lot of that for me, but now I don't have to do it for her.
What are you going to do when she goes to Chapel Hill?
She is going to be working for me remotely. So I'm turning this to a remote position for her. But yeah, so I'll probably be doing most of the filming, unfortunately. But I enjoy like the drone photography. It's been a lot of fun. The video walkthroughs are fun for me. Plus, it kind of gets me out in the properties and like seeing what the houses look like firsthand. So I kind of like going out there and doing that myself. And of course, I can't send her to a vacant property because she's not licensed either. So I have to do that kind of thing. But she does all my parks and my city videos.
That's
and
great for like B-roll. I'm thinking about videos that I have never created because I don't have the time to go down to downtown Tucson and get a shot of this, a shot of that. I never even thought about just hiring somebody per task just to get those specific shots and then just edit that. That's genius. I was thinking just right now, I have the Davis Monthan Military Family Facebook page open. I was about to put something about like me hiring a high schooler. And then I was like, this sounds so creepy. Let me not. Looking for a high schooler. Wow.
The younger looking, the better. Oh my God, Allie. Okay, so you've got the CRM, we've got the calendar, you're doing the lead gen 2 hours a day, the social media, the high schooler, all the things. So it sounds great, awesome, right? But year one, can you just talk a little bit about the realities of how hard it is and what you did to overcome them?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I mentioned a little earlier, the first few months was really hard. I'm a very self-motivated person. I love to work, like absolutely love to work. But I didn't feel like I knew exactly what to do. And the great thing about this team is, we got the Trello boards. And so there's a lot of things I could spend time going through. But I'm also the kind of person, like, I'm not competitive, but I don't want to lose. And like, I always feel like working hard and like, getting something under contract is winning. And so like, I just want to win. And so for me, that was a struggle I had for the first few months because I didn't have any clients. Wasn't really exactly sure where to go or what to do or how to build that. So I think for me, it was very difficult, but I did listen to a lot of podcasts. And so one thing people kept saying is stay at it, stay consistent. And then like month, blah, 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 it just clicks and then it gets busy. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. It's like, I sold a house, my first house in like September, but then it was kind of like a little bit here and there. And then December hit and it was on at that point. So I closed, I think 3 or 4 houses in December or November. And so, things just kind of got busy from there. So I think it's just, you kind of have to look past you might have a slow time right now and then really use that time as kind of like a blessing in a way to kind of get your education in, understand, kind of get your systems built. And that's one thing I didn't do and spend time in the beginning was building systems. And I'm a very systematized person, but I think I was just kind of floundering there for about a month or two and didn't spend my time. Now I wish I'd gone back and taking what we had in like the 5 pillars team on the education folder and then taking that, systematize my emails and, do different things like that. Now I do use a program. This kind of goes towards a little bit later and towards our software called Smartsheet. And so it's a program that I've used since, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years back, but Smartsheet has absolutely revolutionized everything I do on a daily basis. And so for those of you that love Excel, like Shelby, it's like Excel on steroids. So it's, you can create forms, workflows, processes, and things like that. So I was able to, when I worked for the other agent, I built a system where we could drive around and click one thing. It would drop a pin on a map and basically coordinates so we can do driving for dollars. And then we send it to the VA. The VA would find all the information and shoot it back to us. So that system essentially has revolutionized what I do. So I have various checklists set up. So there's buyer checklist, seller checklist. I have automatic notifications that come out of that system to me. So it reminds me if I missed anything. Also,
you said it's Smartsheet?
Smartsheet, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And is it free? How much does it cost?
It's not free, but the basic plan's like $80 a year.
Okay.
And the amount of like time it saves me and just the process and streamlining everything I do on a normal basis, it's really cool. And so it's worth the $80 a year. And plus you can have it automate emails too. So it's like, okay, well, due diligence is coming up. Well, it'll automatically send an email to my clients with this list of information. So a lot of this stuff is automated through the workflows in the system. So I don't even have to think about it. And then also, I get the reminders. I've got the forms, just like, the new buyer checklist or the new buyer form. So when I get a new buyer, they fill out the form, it comes back to me. Or if I'm going through my checklist and it says, hey, it's time to order photos. Have you done it? I can do an update request in the Smartsheet and say, yes, I did. And it automatically updates the sheet for me and everything's color coded. So that's kind of my back end process systems. And I freaking love, and you can do dashboards and stuff like that. So, when you ask me like, what are my metrics? I have a full running dashboard that I look at every single day. And I'm looking at all my buyers, all my sellers, where we're at in the process, where I'm at on my commissions and things like that, or my budget, where I'm at on budget right now. So it's just like those kind of things that you can do. So I just love being able to go from an Excel spreadsheet to a form to a dashboard, and then also get the automations, the workflows, and all that in the back end. It's like super awesome. So it's like I said, it is the back end of my entire system.
If you have
look
an
that up
affiliate link with
for
them,
sure.
send it our way. We will plug that into the show notes, and that way everyone can you can find everything of what we talk about always in every episode in the show notes. So just go on there in case you ever think you missed something, because you can find it there. I want to talk about what is next for you in the next 12 months up to 20 years from now. That's a huge time frame. Just it is a little blip in time.
Small range. Yeah.
What's your 12-year goal, and then what is like your final goal?
Yeah, I was thinking about this today. Like, I freaking hate goals. I don't know what it is. I just hate goals. Like, and I know it sounds stupid, and everybody's like, you got to have your goals, because how do you measure where you're going? For me, it's just, I just like to drive. Like, I just want to go. I want to kick and, get there. For some reason, I struggle with setting goals a lot of times. I'm not sure why. One of my goals is to not have a stroke before my daughter turns 18, which is going to be a real good one if I manage through that process. But really what I was thinking about was if I can build my business up a little bit more, maybe work towards a buyer's agent eventually. And then just kind of do the listing piece. Because actually it's funny, my business has flip-flopped in the past like 4 or 5 months. I went from very heavy on the buyer side to like a lot of listings and no buyers right now. So it's been really weird. It's kind of a weird market right now. But, eventually I like to get to the point where I'm generating enough leads to be able to bring in a little bit of a team. I don't want a massive team at all. It's not it's not my aspiration. But, just to be able to have enough to maybe bring on one additional person and then make enough money to do what I want to do, that kind of thing. So I'm sorry, that's not the big brand. I want to build up 1,000 teams, get my Jeep, those kind of things. But, it's one of those things I really got to sit down and try to figure out what my goal is going to be and where I want to go.
So then
I just haven't really taken the time to do that quite yet.
I respect that you don't care, you don't get caught up in the FOMO and what you should do. It's really cool that you're able to like bring it back in and think about what you actually want and, keep it to that without getting carried away. So
but how do you know what you actually want without the goal portion? And therefore, how do you feel a sense of accomplishment?
Yeah, I don't know, Ali. It's kind of weird. It's one of these things. It's like I just like to keep pushing and move forward every single day. And I've struggled as a real estate agent in general because I'm so used to that 8 to 5 mindset that I just kind of like just work 8 hours a day. It doesn't matter what. And so I think for me, I've got to sit down and figure out what I want. I mean, I really want to be Ali and just do a bunch of referrals and that kind of thing is really my goal eventually. But, right now, I got my first
Yes.
referral, by the way, in Ohio. I was pretty excited about that. It's like, oh, this is what it's like for Allie. This is awesome. But, I've really got to sit down, and you're right. I mean, you don't know where you're going if you don't have a plan. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at right now is I think I took my first year and I'm trying to build my business, build my systems and processes. And then at that point, I think I will, in the next few months, really sit down, try to figure out what my goals are and where I want to go, and then try to build that system backwards and figure out what I need to do to get there.
Well, keep us posted, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, and that we're about to shift into our final wrap-up questions. The first of which is, what is your favorite app or tool?
Yeah. So obviously Smartsheet that we talked about earlier. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it's the app on the phone is so powerful. It's my MLS input tool. It's like it does so many different things. It reminds me of so many different things. And then also I can see my metrics anywhere I'm at on the go and see, who's live, who's active, who I need to follow up with. It's all right there in that tool. So Smartsheet's definitely the one I've used
Nice.
the most.
What events are you going to this year?
The retreat. Going to the 5 Pillars retreat.
Yes, best time ever.
Yeah. You know what's funny is like, so I'm a very high S&C on the disc, right? So I'm really extroverted most of the time, but like when I go to these conferences, I don't know, I'm the kind of person, like even training, I hate the bullshit. I just want to like get to learn and be done with it. Like that's just me. Like I'm very analytical. I just want to go. And so that's why I struggle with conferences a lot of times, or like even I sat through one class on my post licensing, and I swore I would never do it again.
Dude,
so I did.
Post licensing is the devil.
Yeah, I did all my pre-licensing. It is. But all my pre-licensing was like read the slide, answer the questions, and that's how I got through my pre-licensing. And so I sat through one class afterwards, and I was like, "Oh my god! If this woman asks or talks about her life for another 30 minutes, I'm going to lose my mind." Mm-hmm. So I'm just that kind of person. So, anyways, long story short. Yeah, the Pillars Retreat, I am going to start doing some conferences. I think there's some cool stuff out there. I started out actually investing as, an investor. That's how I actually got into real estate. A long time ago, so Bigger Pockets was one of the, the thing that really kind of got me into real estate. And what's really funny is every time I go into the real estate tool, I typed in Bigger Pockets and it comes up Shelby Osborne for some reason, like auto populates. So every time I go into Bigger Pockets, it pops up your face.
Okay, I love that.
I don't know why.
I've infiltrated your computer.
You must have. I think I must have, like, when I got this computer, looked you up for something. Yeah. And then ever since then, like, your face pops up every time I go. It's like a rental calculator drives me. I mean, it's almost.
You're saying it drives you nuts? No, you love it. It's your favorite thing. Yes, thought so.
So, but yeah, looking at that, maybe trying to get in some masterminds this year, I think would be really cool. I've not done any masterminds, and for me, I'm not so much an investor agent. Like I like investing. I invest myself. In fact, being an agent, I was able to work with another agent last year, and we got 7 properties on seller finance last year, which was pretty freaking awesome. But for me, I'm more focused in on like the residential, like home buyer versus the investor side.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
We
for me
with investors.
Yeah, no, legitimately. Like I've got so many, so many investors, and I run the numbers constantly, and it's like they just kick the can. I'm like, listen, guys, this house cash flow is like $400 or $500 a month. Like, you will not find this deal again for a while. Like, you need to jump. Totally. And they're like, well, I need to go see it. I can see it next Tuesday. I'm just like, no. So I've kind of like, I've got my handful of investors that I really work with, but outside of that, I don't do a lot of investment properties outside of for myself and my wife. That kind of thing. So totally. I really want to get into more of the luxury space and figure out that, because that's kind of like my sphere of influence is a little bit more on that side of things.
I don't know if you guys are able to do it in every state, like out there in North Carolina, but for investors, I do a retainer fee where and we have it in our contract. No one ever uses it. So if they are an investor, you will pay me for my time up front as we go. And then, of course, that will be taken out of my commission later on. But no one ever wants to do that. So therefore, I don't work investors, which is perfectly okay by me. So maybe if that's available, not to put you in a different direction since that's not your target. But in case anyone else was wondering, just do what attorneys do and charge them hour by hour, upfront, a chunk at a time. So that way they don't just kick the can like they always do. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I'm not I started out wanting to be an investor agent, and I'm like, after working with some investors, I'm like, nah, this isn't my forte. I want to jump
Not
back
a good
into
return on your time.
For sure.
Okay, Scott, how can we help you in your business?
I love stealing information from people, so I like to see what other people do. So, if anybody's got any great processes or systems, I always love to see what other people are doing to try to step up my game some. I'm trying to get a little bit more in the luxury side of things, not the $1 million level, but, staying in the 550, 600 plus. So looking at what are nice listing presentations and stuff like that would be great. And then, of course, if you have any buyers or sellers, always we'll take those too.
Absolutely. And you can check out any of the previous guests' resources, of course, at theagentgoldmine.com, which is also where your letter to yourself will be uploaded for people to steal. And if you're like Allie, go and write and cry by yourself. The last question is, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me Facebook, Instagram. It's at GrayMac Realty. It's GrayMac Realty. So like I said, that's my kids' names, Grayson and Mackenzie. So threw it together. And so that another thing that I did for my business is keep me focused. And so my kids are my focus. And that's one of the things I really want to do with real estate. And so that's why I named my company that. Kind of keep that focus. So Instagram, you can find me on LinkedIn.
And if you're moving to Greensboro, you can join the Facebook group that was already mentioned. So join that 6,000 people. Yeah. And if you want to hang with us, we are also on Instagram and pretty much all the socials. We're Allie the Agent, and we are The Shelby Show. So hit us up, follow us if you don't already, but definitely hit up theagentgoldmine.com. There is a goldmine of information there. And is there anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to leave the audience with? Any parting words of wisdom?
I'd say just stay consistent, keep driving forward, even if you think it's really now, because I've been through it. It's several months of when you first start out, but then things get better. And so, keep driving forward, keep being consistent, keep doing what you need to do. And eventually you're going to find your way and start getting your clients, and then you'll start moving.
That's it for today. You know what to do.
Be a bro and share this show.
Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.